You ever watch a room full of so-called professionals turn their noses up at you, like you're nothing but the hired help? Yeah, that's how it started for me. The day folks at Camp Hart decided to write me off as just the paperwork nurse, not a real medic, not even worth their time. I'll never forget that look on Dr. Harrow's face, the kind you reserve for someone you think is beneath you, when he watched me scrub dried blood off the edge of a stretcher and said, Carter, wiping up isn't emergency care. The other nurses smirked, soldiers whispered about my past. Someone cracked a joke about preschool and crayons, and I just kept my head down, hands moving slow and steady, making damn sure nobody could see how much it stung. That's the thing about places like this, you know what I mean? You learn quick that nobody cares what you've done before everybody's busy protecting their little slice of authority, and nobody believes a word that comes from a woman with a faded uniform and old scars on her knuckles. But let me back up a sec because there's always more to a story than what folks see on the surface. I've been a combat medic once, the kind who could tie off a carotid in the middle of a firefight with bullets raining down around my ears, but none of that mattered here. In Camp Hart's clinic, I was the janitor, the runner, the girl who fetched gauze and mopped up messes while the real medical team preened and laughed, pretending I didn't exist unless they needed a chart signed or a tray filled. Sometimes, you gotta let him underestimate you. That's the only way you get the chance to show him what you're really made of. It's weird, the little moments that stick with you. Like that Dave Vance, one of the medics with a voice that could rattle the walls and a jaw always chewing gum, called out, "Hey Carter, you gonna mop the floor next? Looks like you're better at that than medicine." I just glanced up and said, "Floor's clean enough. Your chart's missing a signature, though." His grin fell off his face so fast you'd think I'd slapped him. Sometimes, you don't have to shout to shut a room up. You just need 6 words and the guts to say them. Most days, I moved through the clinic like a shadow. I didn't waste words. Didn't smile unless someone looked scared. The other nurses, Carla, Rachel, all the rest flashed their badges, snapped at me if I got too close to a patient, and told me to stick to supplies. I didn't argue. There's a kind of power in silence, if you know how to use it. But every now and then, something would happen to remind them that I wasn't just there to mop floors. Like the time Rachel shoved me aside from a wounded soldier and told me to back off loud enough for the whole ward to hear just as I spotted blood leaking through his too loose tourniquet. Didn't matter. I just handed her a roll of gauze, walked away, and let my actions speak. When she fumbled the dressing later, it was my gauze that kept him alive. You start to realize, after a while, that saving a life isn't always about getting credit. Sometimes it's about making sure the right thing gets done, even if nobody notices. And nobody ever noticed my hands, not the faint white scars across my knuckles, not the way they never shook, not even after the day I sliced my palm open on shattered glass and stitched myself up at the nurse's station with a room full of people staring. Where do you learn to do that? Tim, the youngest nurse, whispered wide-eyed. Jungle, years back, I told him, tying off the last stitch, my voice so soft most folks didn't catch it. Maybe that's when they started to wonder. Maybe not. There was a lull, one of those rare mornings when the clinic felt almost peaceful, and that's when the twist came out of nowhere like these things always do. Marcus, a rookie tech with more curiosity than sense, dug up an old laptop in the supply room, booted it up, and stumbled onto something nobody was meant to see. Combat footage, grainy, dusty, full of gunfire and chaos, with a woman front and center, hands slick with blood, saving a man's life as mortars popped in the distance. "Is this you?" he asked, finding me restocking gauze. "You shouldn't have opened that," I told him, just loud enough for the walls to hear. But word spread fast, faster than I could have stopped it. By the next morning, half the clinic was buzzing about the video, some of them scared, some in awe, some still calling it fake, but all of them looking at me different. It all boiled over one afternoon when the alarm went off minefield, 18 casualties, panic everywhere. Dr. Harrow was barking orders, people yelling for supplies, nobody willing to leave the clinic walls. "Who can bring gear to the field?" he shouted, desperate. I stood up and said, "I'll go." The room burst into laughter, but I just walked over to the back cabinet, punched in a code, and pulled out my old tactical uniform. 6 years forgotten, nameplate still covered in dust and blood. There's something about old gear that changes the air in a room. You could hear hearts thudding when I slung my kit over my shoulder and said, "Don't stop me. I'll let my team die once. Never again." The ride out to the blast site was a blur of smoke, screams, the taste of adrenaline in my mouth. I dropped to my knees beside the first soldier, started CPR, adrenaline shot to the chest heaves, next one choking, tube in his throat, another with a leg gone, tourniquet for keep him stable one by one. I worked through them all, never thinking, just doing, hands moving the way only someone who's seen real hell can move. Soldiers started whispering, "She's saving them." All of them. A sniper on the ridge one, "Look at my patch," and he lowered his rifle. "She's one of ours." At some point, an old lieutenant from my past showed up, beard streaked with gray, voice thick with emotion, dropping to his knees and whispering, "I owe you my life." I nodded, hands already moving to the next man, barely stopping to breathe. When the medevac chopper landed, the team just stared at me, eyes wide, as I handed over my report, every wound, every status, everything written in a hand that didn't shake. "They're stable. Get them out of here." That's all I said. The aftermath was like a movie in slow motion. Apologies from the medical team. Carla in tears. DR. Harold let go. The tough guys who'd call me the preschool nurse shuffled up, eyes on the floor, asking why I'd never said anything. Because stories don't save lives. My hands do. That's all they got from me. Department of Defense came sniffing, trying to pull me back to my old unit. I shook my head. I'm needed here. Soldiers left little gifts on my card-a-pin from a brother I'd saved in Syria, a drawing from a cook's daughter, little things that meant more than any medal. The base changed after that. Not overnight, not because I made a speech, but because people started watching how I worked. Started whispering, "Thank you, MedTech 04." Started saluting me in the halls. Carla lost her sponsorship. The loud ones got moved to desk jobs, but none of that mattered to me. I found my place, finally. I'd earned my scars, my silence, and my steady hands. But the truth is, there's always another call, another soul waiting on the edge. You can fight and claw and prove yourself 100 times, and still, there'll be someone who doubts, someone who mocks, someone who's never seen what you've done or what you've carried. But you keep going anyway, because you know what's right, you know what you're worth. My story wasn't loud, but it was real. It was for everyone who'd ever been overlooked, pushed aside, told they didn't belong, and kept showing up anyway. And now I'm asking you, where are you watching from? Ever been the one fighting to be seen, to be heard, to be believed? Drop your story in the comments, hit follow, and let's walk this road together. Because sometimes the quietest hands carry the greatest weight. And sometimes the world needs to see what happens when a paperwork nurse finally gets her moment to save them all.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những video.
Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know, please.
After the tree to hold on to.
Yeah, use the fence.